Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from Multiverse TV. I am Peter, and unfortunately Matt is away this weekend, so he's missing out on this episode 101. So
start of a new era.
Connor's here though.
Yeah. You gotta have someone to talk to.
I don't know if I do. I question this. Is Connor better than no one? You know, is monologuing better than talking to Connor? I don't know.
Speak up, audience. This is your chance.
It could. Hey, don't say that. They might say all the things you don't want them to say.
They might.
Like, yeah, get rid of Connor. It's fine. Anyway, so we talk about comic books, we talk about DC comic books, and coming up on this week's show, we got Detective Comics 979, Wonder Woman 45, The Flash 45, Batgirl 22, The Terrifics number 3, Teen Titans 19, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps number 43, Mera, Queen of Atlantis number 3, The Silencer number 4, and Titans Annual number 2. So that's the stuff that's going to be talked about this week. You'll notice the order's slightly different. I've kind of rearranged it because there's a few things that me and Matt read that Connor don't. So I specifically split up all the things that will just be me talking about, so I'm not doing two in a row. At least I think I did that. That's what my intention was.
I wasn't paying attention enough to see if that was true.
We'll find out later.
There was definitely a couple right at the end that's just you, but...
Not back to back.
Was it not Mera and then Titans?
No, Silencer was in between those two.
Okay. Alright, I'll let you off.
Yeah, I've put thought into this. It's fine. So that's what's coming up. And do you know what's funny? Like, we have had about 2 solid months of reasonable to big news every week. And for the first time in about 2 months, we actually really have no news. We have the Eisner nominations. We'll talk about those a little bit. We'll have a look at that and see what get nominated. But that's pretty much it.
That's alright.
No big announcements. Yeah, but this was a good week for it though, because it's not a huge week in terms of books. This would have been a perfect week for it.
Yeah. As soon as we get to the ending of No Justice, the start of Man of Steel. Yeah,
that's what they're going to drop it on us.
Yeah.
You get the 3.5 hour special episode because they give us all the big news the same week as all the big books. But hey, so yeah, the Eisner nominations did go out this week, and obviously, I mean, a lot of this isn't specific to DC because obviously anything can be nominated, but it's probably worth looking at a few categories just to see what's there. There's no DC books in the single issue category. Nothing made it. Nor the best continuing series category. There's a few things we like in there. Black Hammer's in there, which we both like. You like Wicked and Divine, which is in there. Marvel did get a book in there. They got Hawkeye by Kelly Thompson on best series. Okay. Yeah. Also, Giant Days and Monstrous were the other 2 books that they made that list.
I read the very first issue of Monstrous because it was like triple sized or something like that, and I thought it was pretty good. But I didn't want to read it monthly because it felt like there was so much in that first issue that I couldn't imagine the pace of that with just 20 pages.
Mm-hmm. Best limited series, we did get something in there. Mr. Miracle by Tom King and Mitch Gerads.
Damn right.
Is in best limited series, of course it is. Also, Black Panther: World of Wakanda, Extremity, the Flintstones. So we got another DC book in there actually. That didn't stick out to me quite as first. Because it's Flintstones.
I think that popped up in a few categories, I think.
Yeah, and then the last one was X-Men Grand Design. So that's your best new series. No DC from a glance. No Black Bolt, Grass Kings, Maestros, Redlands, and Royal City. I know you like Royal City, so you can be pleased about that.
Royal City is phenomenal.
I mean, that's Jeff Lemire, so I will get around to it. But
it will make you feel things that even me, the soulless one, can feel.
Well, Lemire always makes me feel things.
It does, doesn't it?
Pretty much. So, and if we dive down, because a lot of categories that won't necessarily interest us in terms of what we talk about. Best Writer, Tom King has been nominated for the following books: Batman Annual number 2, Batman Elmer Fudd Special number 1, and Mr. Miracle. Interesting that Batman Annual number 2 has been counted separately for some reason, but it's really just part of Batman.
Yeah, I think it's because, if you look at like Comixology, it'll list it separately.
Not a different series at one.
Well, do they not now? They used to.
Oh, no, they don't. They haven't done it in a long, long time.
Oh, okay. They used to list annuals in a separate series for me.
Oh, God, no. Yeah, they've not done that. I don't even remember seeing that, never mind.
Oh, really?
Recently.
Okay.
Yeah. So, no, same book, so that's just bizarre. Maybe they just want to specify that was a really good issue, so like, nah, list that separately.
Yeah, shockingly not in the single issues though.
Yeah, I know, weird. Matt Kent for Grass Kings, Ether, Externity, and Exo Manowar. That's across various publishers. That's Boom, Dark Horse, and Valiant. Jeff Lemire's been nominated for Black Hammer and Descender. Interesting, Royal City was in.
Not Royal City.
I know. But Black Hammer and Descender, which is Dark Horse and Image. Marjorie Liu for Monstrous, if I said that even remotely correct, and then Mark Russell for the Flintstones has been nominated. So I'm almost impressed with those two last ones because they got nominated for one book. Everyone else was like, here's like 3 or 4 things they did. That
yeah,
really
it's
good.
like, look, they've had such a varied body of work this year. That's what, and you have to be really stand out to go. No, one book is good enough to counter 4 books from someone else.
Yeah, best penciler slash inker or penciler inker team. We have Mitch Gerrards from Mr. Miracle. He's been nominated from our camp, and then there's 4 others: Isabella Asrenault, and for Louis Undercover, or Lewis Undercover, maybe actually. Gary Gianni for Hellboy Into the Silent Sea from Dark Horse, obviously. Ramon K. Perez for Jane from Archaea, and then David Rubin for Black Hammer issue 9 and 12. Ether, Sherlock Frankenstein 1 to 3, but there's 4 of those, right? That wasn't just the 3.
There was, but I think the 4th one came out this. It was in the year.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, it wasn't that he didn't do the 4th one. It's just that wasn't in the time.
It wasn't in the calendar year, which is what I assume this is.
And then Beowulf. So yeah, Ruben did a lot of things basically in the last year.
Some great work.
So yeah, I mean, maybe best cover artist as well. We'll just mention Jorge Corona, number 1 with a bullet from Image. That's for Nick Derrenting from Mr. Miracle for DC and Doom Patrol from DC. Brian Stelfreeze for Black Panther, obviously Marvel. Sena Takedi for Monstrous from Image, and Julian Totino Tedesco from Hawkeye, obviously Marvel. So there you go. Oh, I suppose we mentioned colouring as well, actually. I didn't go down this far when I was looking at them earlier. I was like, oh, there's a colouring category. So Emil Ferris for My Favourite Thing Is Monsters from Fantagraphics. Mitch Gerrards from Mr. Miracle. So Mitch Gerrards basically getting his name thrown out across the board here, which is really great to see because we love his work. Ed Pisker for X-Men Grand Design. David Rubin, again, for all the same things we mentioned before. Dave Stewart for Black Hammer, BPRD, Devil You Know, Hellboy Into the Silent Sea, Sherlock Frankenstein, Shalone Cowboy, and Maelstrom. So a lot of stuff from Dave Stewart. Yeah. And then finally, Rosemary Valley O'Connell for What Is Left from Shortbox.
Okay. The obvious snub for me is Jodie Belair.
That's fair. Well, I feel weird talking about, because I was like questioning while not even bringing these up, and I think it's worth saying just for the here's the ones that are getting the prestige and making them known. But I was questioning whether not to bring them up because it is industry wide and it's not just DC, which is obviously what we talk about and what we care about. There's a lot of categories there who don't even have a DC thing in it, and it's like, okay, so these things have been nominated, and obviously we know some of them, we don't know some of the others, and so. There's like full categories here where there's nothing we have an opinion on out of the 5 options.
Sure.
So it's just it's a weirder thing to talk about given that we were a focused show about one publisher. But hey ho, that's that. There was kind of something on Twitter, but I'll save that for when we're talking about one of the books because it kind of ties into one of them. So
I have no idea what you're referring to there.
That's okay. You can be surprised later.
Usually, I feel like when you tease these things, I kind of go, "Okay, I know what you're getting at." I had no clue. I did see the final issue of the Detective Comics team got resolicited with different artists. We've got the artist back from the start of the run for the final issue instead of whoever it was supposed to be.
Okay, that's cool. Gives it a bookend vibe, bookend quality to the end of the run. That's cool. So, I guess without further ado, we'll get into comics, and we're just only 10 minutes in, and we're getting to comics. This is weird. I'm used to it being like 30-40 minutes before we get to the books now.
Yeah. Brisk episode this week.
Well, we'll see. The books might.
I just mean comparatively, we've just knocked off half an hour compared to the last 2 months.
That is very true. So. we will get cracking into the books then. We'll start off with Detective Comics 979, James Tynion IV and Phil Briones on the art. And of course, we're starting with the OMAC. You know, they're all taking over, all the soldiers. Tim's been taken over, and much of this issue is actually inside Tim's body, head / OMAC, where he's kind of like held captive in a sort of like in his consciousness by the general. And he's kind of watching as like Cass is fighting him, and he's trying to like tell himself not to hurt Cass, and it's not quite working. And Batman and Batwoman and Kane are trying to figure out what's going on as they're being attacked, and it's all going down. And perhaps the most gut-wrenching part of it is when you hear like Batwoman and Batman kind of talking about why this might be happening and who's behind this, because they don't really know about the general. And like someone says, "Hey, this was Tim's thing," like, you know, and even Batman has to like sort of acknowledge the possibility that this is some way involved in Tim. Tim's behind this in some way, and Tim inside his head's like, "It's not me."
It is well known that even after, you know, Tim's come back and, you know, we did the future Tim stuff, he still wants to continue the program in some capacity. Batman's like, "No, we're shutting this down," but Tim has been pushing to keep it going in some variation.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's, and to Batman's credit, he does later on say, okay, it's clear Tim's involved in some way, but he's not necessarily willing to admit that he's behind it. So, you know, he's still holding out hope for Tim and that he's not just went nuts. I will say, and admittedly this bothers me more as a digital reader, but even in print, this usually annoys me when they do this, is when you have to turn the page to read something.
It bothers me a little bit digitally because I have to lock my tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just, because you know, usually it's on auto rotate, so I just turn. But here it's like, okay, lock, then turn it to see it.
Which you always want on anyway for double page spreads, because you have to turn them for double page spreads. So
right, exactly. So then you've got to turn it back off after.
I'm just not a big fan of it in general, and it's especially annoying in digital, because I have to like stop and manually lock the tablet and then turn it. And
I like it in print, because I like the effect that it has. It's very disorientating. In digital, it's just a bit of a hassle. Funnily enough, not the only book I read this week that does this.
Oh, so when I read it, this is an old DC book?
It is, yes.
Okay, we'll find out. Oh, so Hal and Pals probably then.
Yeah, basically. But I'll explain the big moment in that. But like here, I like the effect of, okay, it's all turned on its head, it's all sideways, it's all, you know, it's slipping out of balance as Tim's kind of losing himself inside the OMAC stuff. I like that effect. It's just a hassle as digital reading to, you know, lock, unlock, turn.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can achieve some of that effect without doing it, and ultimately, it makes me stop reading, tinker with a button or two to get to actually be able to read the page. It just takes me out of it. It stops my flow and dead on.
Yeah, no, like I say though, in the page, I like it. I like turning the page and getting it as it's going, but I do wonder if we, you know, as we move more and more towards digital being the standard, I wonder if we move away from these techniques.
I kind of hope so. And I'll be honest, I don't even love it in print, because I think anything that requires me to alter how I hold the thing I'm reading. Now, I know I'm flipping the tablet back and forth for double page spreads, but that's kind of simple, and that's so ingrained into my head that I'm doing that. Like, I just immediately know, oh, it's went smaller, I have to flip it. Like, it's so like part of my body language, my muscle memory, that I don't even think about it. It just happens without, you know, any like consideration for it. Whereas even in print in the past when I've read this, I still have to go, oh wait, I have to hold it up, you know, vertically.
That doesn't bother me at all.
No, it bugs me. It still takes me out because I have to stop and think about that I need to do it. So I'm just not a big fan of the technique. But hey, so now there's a lot of the general like taunting Tim's ear. And ultimately the issue, we get some fighting, we get them trying to figure out what's going on. Batman comes back to the cave and they're like, Cassie, okay, and Cass is all, it's Tim, it's this, it's that. And
I like the idea of, you know, it's pretty effective to show us how powerful OMAC is by taking out Cass, because we've seen how, you know, we know how good a fighter Cass is.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
So by using her as the benchmark, it tells you a lot.
Yeah, and then of course the main, like one of the OMAC soldiers, they get reprogrammed and one becomes a Batman, Batman or Pax Batmana, which obviously we've heard before, and it all kind of builds up to like the OMAC squad basically rebuild the Belfry. It's Belfry 2.0, and we kind of end in this big cliffhanger. And to try and break through to Tim, Batman and Cass go to Steph. We actually get Stephanie Brown back, which obviously delighted me greatly. Still really hope she's got a place when this run's done somewhere. Don't let me down, DC. Thank you. But no, so they go to her, and she's. I like how she's drinking a purple drink, because that's a colour.
Yeah, I assume it's grape.
Probably. But it's just one of those little subtle touches. It's the Power Rangers rules where they always have to be wearing their colour. This is kind of like that, where she has to be drinking a purple drink because that's
it is,
the
and you can't see much of it, but she is wearing a purple top. You can see just the straps.
Yeah. Even just the There's just a lot of purple in the frame. There's a couple of purple books on the shelf. There's some purple in the photos at the back.
The wall has a vaguely purple tint to it.
Yeah, or even in the top panel when Batman and Cass come in the room, it's not. I don't even think it actually has a purple couch. It's just the lighting because it's nighttime. It gives this purple effect to it. So no, there's obviously some choices there to just give it a very purple feeling. So obviously we're gearing up here. We've got what, like 3 issues left of this run.
Something like that.
Yeah. 81 or 82 is the last one. So we're gearing up. So I can see it being quite heartbreaking. Cash try to break through to Tim, or sorry, Steph try to break through to Tim, I should say. And
I mean, Cass can try as well.
She probably can. She might. She'll at least punch something because it's Cass.
Yeah, she'll probably fail, but she can try.
But no, so it was very much a set-up issue in that sense, but what it was setting up was kind of exciting. Obviously, a lot of it was about tormenting Tim, that he can't do anything right now, and the idea that everyone else thinks he might be responsible for this. So we can maybe deal with the emotional fallout for that. But, of course, the fact that we see Batman's not ready to just believe that it's Tim is kind of like, okay, right, so not all is lost. He still believes in his son here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good stuff. It's a solid issue. I was excited to see Steph back, and the big cliffhanger of like having the new tower and like try to take over Gotham. It gives us big city-wide stakes for the rest of the arc. So
yeah, and it's really nice we finally begin to this Pax Batman stuff that we've been teasing for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't mind it being teased for a long time. No, that's something.
No, I don't. I'm saying that wasn't a complaint. I'm saying it's exciting to finally be getting to it.
Yeah. It's just that because you've complained with, I don't know if it's been a lot of comics necessarily, but you've complained in the past about teasing stuff being dragged out too long.
Yeah, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. So the tech was good. I don't have a whole lot more to add about this issue, really. It was pretty straightforward.
No, it is very much, okay, this is the middle of the arc issue.
Yeah. So we'll move on then. We'll move on. There's no action, which is usually next. Although that said, it'll be different going forward because action is only once a month. It will be week 4, so it would be this week. But still, things are changing. It's weird. But next up, Wonder Woman number 45. James Robinson writing. Marco Santucci and Emanuela Lupacchino on the art. You stopped reading this.
I was like, nope, I'm out.
And I like. If Matt was going to stop, I was going to stop because I was like, oh well.
And then you heard, okay, well the run's coming to an end. I might as well stick it out.
Well, no, I'm still reading it as well though. Like, that was still kind of in play.
Yeah, okay. But you did say you were more inclined to stick it out now that you know that.
Oh no, that's true too. That's also true. But Matt's just not here this week. And
yeah, so you had to read it all on your own.
I did, and it's. So the issue's a lot of fighting. There's the Amazon parademons, because remember they got infected because Grail went into Themyscira, and the whole.
Oh yes,
like, the feet didn't touch the floor, therefore she can go back.
Sure, that bollocks.
Which you're going to love this. Jason then says, "Wait, if that applies to her, that applies to me." So Jason goes through the portal, and Jason's in Themyscira, and he's like, "Mom!" to Hippolyta, and Hippolyta's like, "Son, I never thought I'd see you again." So they have like a touching embrace.
She's like, "Who the shit are you?"
And it's all very like all that was making me grow. The actual fighting was fine, like Wonder Woman fighting Darkseid, whatever. It was brisk enough to read in that sense, so I can't complain too much about the pacing. But yeah, everything with Jason was just awful because it actually starts with Steve narrating, and. He actually he sees Jason sort of make the leap, and even though it's dangerous to go to Themyscira, and he actually says in his narration, I hate to admit this, but I'm starting to like Jason, and I'm like, no.
I bet Matt loves this issue.
Oh god, don't try and force you're going to start liking him soon, guys. Just prepare. Like, no, we don't.
This is Robinson going, hey, look, he's going to wear you down.
He's such a dull, bland, uninteresting character. There's nothing about him that is remotely engaging at all. But he goes, and he comes back. He escapes back to Hippolyta gives. She's holding like a spear, and she's like, "Hey, take this spear to remember me by, because it's what I've got on me." And he's like, "Fine." So he's got a spear, and he comes back, and they close the portal because they beat Darkseid. How did they beat Darkseid, you might ask? Well, Wonder Woman.
I saw a headline this week saying this sets up Darkseid's state of mind for going forward.
Well, Wonder Woman beats Darkseid by basically reaching out to all of the people that he killed that let him grow again. She's like, I love all of you souls, Zeus and everyone else. Like, I love you all.
That badass Hercules.
Sorry?
That badass Hercules that we got earlier.
Ah, yes, Hercules too. Everyone, I love you all. My father, my brothers and sisters. I love you all. And the spirits of all these people leave Darkseid. It's very Deus Ex Machina. She thinks of this idea.
I know they're gods, but come on.
She's like, if I can reach out to them, I don't have to fight them with my fists. And I'm like, what's going to happen here? And she just says, okay, I love you all, please come. And they just all kind of leave his body, and he disintegrates. And we won. Okay.
I know comics often have no stakes because people don't stay dead. But
well, no, I think they're still dead.
Yeah, but what the shit's the point in... They could have just left at any time. Why would they have stayed there if they could just leave?
Oh, because after... No, I mean, I don't want to stick up for this because it's still a complete Deus Ex Machina, but the argument isn't they could just always leave any time they wanted. They can only leave because Wonder Woman's given them... it's just like Wally being stuck in the Speed Force. He's a lightning rod.
Alright, fine.
Same difference.
Okay.
So...
Obviously, I didn't read this, so I'm just taking the way you were saying it.
No, that part makes sense to me. She's saying that because she's reaching out to them that she can break through and open a door essentially. It's just out of nowhere, and it's like okay, this is the thing. But so Darkseid disintegrates, so everything seems fine, and then the last page, it's like because they all were like, oh, I wonder where Darkseid went. Is he dead? It's like nah, he's never dead for long, or something to that effect. I'm not looking at the page right now, but it was something to that extent. And we cut to the last page, and he's all in silhouette. You don't get to see him, right? You don't get to see him in detail, but he's all in silhouette. He seems thinner. He seems like he's probably the design that he's in Justice League Odyssey.
Yeah.
Where he looks a bit younger and sort of teenagey looking. But he's all in silhouette, so I'm only assuming that because I've seen that design from the future material. But he's all in silhouette, and he basically is like, where am I? Who am I? What's going on? And that's kind of dead. So he doesn't know who he is.
That's way less interesting than, Just, I actually assume this has come at request of this is where we want him for Odyssey. But in general, I think that's less interesting. Is we were sold as the Hannibal Lecter style villain that they get, and I mean, if he doesn't know who he is,
well, you say we were sold as that. We got like one or two comments when they tried to ask about him.
Right. But that's what they said. That's what we've been given. So I'm like, okay, that immediately changes my expectations, and I'm a little bit disappointed based on what I was told.
I'm not disappointed actually. I mean, this was a bad issue, but I like the idea of having him on the team as a ticking time bomb, where he's an ally for now when he doesn't know who he is. But when does he remember? And if he remembers, and he will eventually, right? Because he's not going to be this forever. But like when he does eventually get his memories back, does he play along for a while and pretend that he's still oblivious Darkseid? Does he have this weird different opinion of everyone because he's been kind of on the team with this group of people for a while? How does the Justice League Odyssey team interact with them, knowing who he really is, but having to pretend they don't know? Or I think there's potential here. There's a lot of possibilities to come from this. As much as law amnesia is a story trope, because it is. Yeah. I do think there's potential here with this because he's Darkseid. He's so goddamn powerful and evil. Darkseid freaking is, but he doesn't know who he is, and they've kind of talked him into being an ally.
No, I get that. I think if I hadn't heard the comments that they said about him before, I'd be okay with it. But now I'm disappointed, not because of what this is inherently, just because it's not what I thought it was. Because of what they said.
Still treat him like Hannibal Lecter. They still sort of keep him locked up and stuff, and he just doesn't understand why.
Yeah, but I think the appealing part of the Hannibal Lecter relationship is he's kind of evil incarnate, and he knows it. And he's intentionally toying with them.
Yeah, like I say, I'm not opposed to this. I feel like you often get disappointed based on what they sold something to you as, and I feel like that never bothers me. I never really care about what someone sold to me as. I just care about the content itself.
I think it's, you're told something, you get excited by it, and then it's something else entirely. It's that's disappointing to me.
Yeah, but I feel like I really have this problem where they sold me as this, or if it's a movie, the trailers told me it was going to be this. Like, I almost never feel bothered by that.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it just never bothers me. I don't know if the story works or the movie works or whatever, it works. And I don't know. I feel like I'm rarely have my opinion altered in any way by what my expectations were based on previous material. I don't know. I get you're not alone in this. This bugs other people too. Like, I don't think it's just you, but for some, I've just never really gotten that. Like, I understand it in theory, and And I've almost like tried things again in the past because I look back and go, oh, maybe my expectations are why I didn't like said thing, and I'll go back and reread it or rewatch it, and it almost never makes a difference. I'm almost always still just disappointed because the thing itself just doesn't work for me.
Oh, fair enough.
That makes sense.
I think I'm a little bit more forgiving with movie trailers because I understand there's a separate marketing department doing that.
And they're always bullshit. It's kind of like comic covers, but they're often bullshit.
Right. I think this is a little bit different because it was the creators themselves talking about it.
Maybe it's just a case of it morphs into that. It just doesn't start that way.
No, maybe.
Maybe them saying that isn't an outright lie. Maybe it's just that's where it gets to.
Quite possibly.
I don't know. But hey, so no, that's where it leaves off. There's a few things this week actually. There's a few books this week that sort of end with things setting up what's coming up soon.
Yeah, there is.
So no. I mean, as for the issue of Wonder Woman, yeah, it was still kind of what it was.
It's another issue of Robinson's Wonder Woman, is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah. But it wasn't as like absolutely mind-numbing as a couple of the recent ones have been. There was that one, the one that Jason showed back up at the end of in his new armor. That was like easily the worst issue of the
To be
entire
fair
run.
to the run, the best ones have probably been where it's just here's an action sequence, because it's rarely been a problem from an art perspective. The art's been pretty
fine.
good. So there's been some, it's just a fun action sequence. I can get behind that.
The Silver Swan stuff veered away from Jason more than the other stuff, so that was definitely the best of the run so far. Yeah. But it's rough stuff. I don't know.
Nearly over though. Couple more months, and it's done. So I'll probably stick it out because I don't want to just miss a couple of issues before the next bit starts. And you'll stick through the Orlando stuff as well.
Hey, that might be good. He's better than a Soul character, so it may not be bad.
No, that's fair.
May not be bad. We'll see. Anyway, so that was Wonder Woman, which will take us on to the Flash number 45. Joshua Williamson and Christian Duce doing the art. This is an exciting issue. I was excited to get into this issue. This is the first thing I read. I got my books, and I'm like, Flash is first. Because Flash has kind of risen. See, over the past like 2 or 3 months, Flash has risen to being the one that's maybe the most exciting for me on the weeks that it's out. Give or take. Obviously, it depends if there's like a Doomsday Clock out that week or so on.
Yeah.
But out of the regular books, it's kind of risen to being like kind of first on or at least in the first couple that I'll get to. And this, I don't think disappointed. I think obviously it was largely a Fallout issue after Perfect Storm.
Yeah, I mean it was an epilogue.
It was, yeah, and it was wrapping up all these things. But the reason why I was excited, of course, was because I knew that the Wally Iris stuff was coming in some capacity. And, it bookended the issue with it because it started with him getting the flowers from that flower shop that he talked about in the annual that he always went to. And the other speedsters around about the city, and they're cleaning things up, getting all the businesses back up on their feet, all the destruction that happened during Perfect Storm. Dealing with all that, and we get all the various kind of Fallout scenes. We get Barry going to Kristen, we get Barry going to Mina, we get all these scenes. We get Wally, young Wally that is, with Avery. They see Mina, and then Damien shows up to set up the new Teen Titans stuff. He's like, hey, and like Wally's like, you're just pissed because I caught you over there, which is funny because there was a couple of references to this issue because later on, Barry's like, oh Iris, how did you know I was here already? He's like, you're the Flash, not Batman. You're stomping around. So the book was just full of these little nice character beats that I think played off very well. Obviously, the Godspeed scene, particularly interesting because there's an ominous voice telling him that he can help solve his brother's murder, and I think there's a lot of like red herrings in this scene, or at least one big red herring where it feels very Manhattan-y in a lot of ways because there's a blue tint and there's a blue outline in the speech bubbles. However, it is not the Manhattan speech bubble, because the Manhattan speech bubble is completely
blue with the white, isn't it?
It's solid blue in the background, whereas this was a blue outline around the regular speech bubble. So I think it might even be intentionally kind of like, hey, this is kind of like a Manhattan-esque thing, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think it is either.
If anything, I think it might be Zoom, it might be Zolomon.
Yeah, I think that's the most logical. Given that we know we've been setting that up, we know where we're going.
Unless, of course, this is setting stuff up for after Flash War, in which case it's got nothing to do with him, and this is like setting stuff up for down the line, which is also cool if they're doing that.
It's a possibility, yeah.
So that was cool. Like I say, I like the Mina stuff, where she's like still saying, "Oh, like I mean, yeah, like I didn't want to kill anyone, but and as much as Grodd is controlling me, I still actually believe the Speed Force is dangerous, and you're kind of blinded by it." But it's, he still had a nice moment with the kids coming in and having the end.
Yeah, awkward facial expressions aside.
A little bit awkward. I did actually like the art for the most part.
I agree. For the most part, there's a handful of faces here or there that just look weird.
Yeah, I really like. I like the detail in the hair and the facial hair from Duce. Does it see the opening when Wally goes to the florist, and the guy's mustache? I thought, man, that's a good mustache.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
That was my first thought when I looked at that page. Is that is a damn good mustache.
He does the stubble very well, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, I think whenever he falls down, he makes the eyes a little bit big, so the facial expressions feel a bit.
It's the eyes and the mouths feel a bit they feel disproportionate, and like Wally's mouth specifically on that panel just looks wrong.
I don't hate it. It's just kind of like, it is over exaggerated. I agree, it's a criticism. It doesn't take me out of it though. I think it still at least fits for the most part with the art as a whole, as opposed to.
Fair enough. I think it does take me out because typically it's better than that. But then there's a handful of panels that just look really over exaggerated, where most of them are quite refined.
Yeah. Maybe it's the sort of thing where a bit of time. Maybe if I had more time for the issue, maybe that's the sort of thing that would be ironed out. But so no, I like that. Obviously, Damien setting up new Teen Titans. Not new Teen Titans. You know what I mean? The new
Teen Titans
direction on Teen Titans. That's cool. And Avery's back off to Justice League of China, so it's kind of like spin all these things back out. But
she does want Wally to go with her though.
She does. Although, given that book seems to be ending, he's made
Probably
the right call.
A good job. He's not. Yeah,
made the right call there. But we all build up, so we go through all these epilogue things, and Kristen feels bad about Godspeed, and Barry's kind of like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't tell her that I'm the one that let him out. Let's hope that doesn't go bad. But of course, he's like, no, hopefully it works out for the better, and we don't find him in a crime scene next time. So, well, I hope you're right, Barry. I appreciate your optimism, but I worry. So I like that it was kind of like dealing with all the various characters we've had, all these supporting characters. It was kind of like rounding off all these things. Not in general, just for this part of the story, this part of the arc, this part of the run, more specifically. Yeah. And it all builds up, of course, to the Barry and Iris, because obviously he's going through all of his supporting cast. So naturally, Iris is the finale. Iris is the one where he's building up to. And they have a bit of a heart-to-heart, and she's like, no, I want to learn about the Flash, and she pulls out the suit from his ring, and I want to know about the Flash. I want to know what you're like. You've got earpieces in your
what music are you listening
horns.
to?
And then she plays it, and it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. Just like, you listen to science books while you're riding around. You're such a nerd. And you get your big full-page kiss with the light behind them. It's all very romantic.
I really love the focus effect on this, because the foreground's out of focus. It's something I feel like I don't see a lot in comics.
It's funny because I think one of the biggest things in film is focus. Like that's like half the cinematography is framing, the other half is what is in focus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really true. There's movement and all sorts of other things to take into consideration.
Movement, lighting, all the other stuff.
But in terms of a single frame, that's your two big things: is what's actually in the frame and what is in focus. And I feel like comics maybe should use focus a little bit more to differentiate.
Yeah, because it makes this page really stick out, because it is. I don't see it very often, but it really focuses in on Barry and Iris like it should.
It's one of the things I always talk about with 3D movies, where I feel like the 3D effect's really fake, and I actually find that just having like something in the foreground out of focus in a regular 2D movie is actually much more effective to giving it layers than the actual stupid gimmicky 3D effect, where it's like, oh, it's like a pop-out book. There's a bit that's in the front and a bit in the back.
That's fair.
And I feel like that's comics could do the same thing. They could have a bit of focus play with what they're doing.
I think they get away with it a lot because it's small panels, and there isn't much space for focus.
There is, yeah, because you could clutter the panel too much by having a lot of stuff around the edges just for focus sake, just to say, oh, there's something in the foreground out of focus, so we have to draw that in.
But when you get to these bigger pages and other, wider panels, especially, like it just flicking through a couple of panels, there's a panel with new Wally just at the bottom, and a couple of pages later, Wally's at the bottom, and then you got Barry and Iris a bit behind. Like a little bit of focus would not go amiss.
Yeah, no. But yeah, so they have about their heart to heart, and Barry's like, okay, so now you're getting told everything, so that and I mean that I'm going to tell you everything, which means this. And she's like, what? What's going on? And Wally comes in with these flowers, with the tulips, and she's like, oh, who are you? And I've got a cat scratching at my door.
She's like, well, you're clearly the other Flash because the hair. That's pretty obvious. And obviously Wally's been sending her the flowers for a week or every week. So, she's putting two and two together there.
Sorry, I'm back now. You can stop panicking and stumbling over your words.
I wasn't actually. I was just rereading it and I realised it wasn't. I thought it was flowers a week, but it was flowers every week.
Anyway, so she's like, okay, you're the other Flash because of the hair. It gives it away. Those ginger locks.
I just said that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't really listening to you.
No, I know. Clearly.
I wanted to mention it. I didn't get a comment on it because I was too busy over there dealing with a cat. All right.
This is why I tried to get it out of the way.
Well, tough. It's getting mentioned again. So Wally basically breaks down. He's like, I can't do this. I can't do this again. Because he's done it with a few other people. He's like, no, I can't do this. And he backs away, and Iris grabs his arm. He's like, no, it's okay. It's fine. And then she's like, there's a pause. I say pause. There's a panel where they look at each other, and then she's like, Wally. And it's like, you remember? And she's like, and they hug, they cry. Barry's wiping a tear away. It's all very emotional. It's all very big and just it's hitting. We've been waiting for this for so long. It's kind of hitting the marks that you want it to hit. And then she says, "Where's everyone else?
Yeah,
where are the others?" And he's like, "Others? Who are you talking?" And then he spark. He's like he's having a mind Speed Force seizure with the lightning. And Barry's like, what's wrong? And he's like, Barry, I remember. And final page, full page layout. I remember everything. And there's just all these splintered panels behind him of the original New Teen Titans that he was on, of him and Bart, of just various things from the history. The wedding, all that stuff. And I mean, we kind of heard a while ago that he was probably going to find out about his kids in Flash War, and that was really exciting to learn that was going to be a thing. And I'm really excited about this. And him wanting to get his family back, him wanting to have his kids back, Iris knowing his kids.
Yeah.
All of this is tantalising.
It is. It really is.
I was pumped when I read this, but I put this down. I was like, damn it, I can't wait for the Flash now. Next issue, I want it. Give it to me.
Well, you've got 2 whole weeks to wait.
Damn it.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mentioned earlier on there was some stuff on Twitter. I was referring to Flash-related stuff because there's a lot of Flash War teasing going on in the last couple of days. Tom King was saying, I've read the first chapter of Flash War, it's fantastic, and the fallout is going to hit the entire DCU. We've had a few writers and artists tweet that the fallout is going to be like a big line-wide thing. And he mentioned that he was writing part of the fallout. Now, whether that means that there's some Flash Ripple thing that happens in Batman, whether that means someone's going to the Sanctuary, or whether that means Tom King's writing something else that we don't know about yet. And it's worth mentioning that Tom King has mentioned in the past month or two that he's been writing secret comic projects that he can't talk about. There's been a couple of weekends where he's like, this weekend I was writing a secret thing I can't talk about, and so on.
Do you know one of the things I'd love, but I don't think they've done? You know how we've been saying, do you know what? It'd be really cool if Wally took over as the Flash after Flash War, and Barry took a break or whatever. Whatever.
And that's in one of these panels when he's with Bart in this panel. That's him as Flash.
It is, yeah. But we've kind of gone, maybe not, because the things that we've seen, or the Justice League stuff, it's Barry there, right? That's what it looks like.
Yeah, the one kind of hope that maybe it wasn't Barry in the new Justice League stuff was that, after all this stuff, Wally's not in the Titans anymore, so where is he? What's he doing?
Yeah. Well, here's what I think. The best thing they could possibly do is go, all those covers, they were just stand-ins, and then do and then do the same cover again, but just with Wally Flash there.
Yeah, or maybe what they could do is no, that is Barry, but while Barry's doing Justice League stuff, Wally's the Flash in the city.
Yeah, it could be.
And the main book becomes more of a Wally book. Like, I mean, it's not entirely
It's
impossible.
got less ramifications for the DCU as a whole, though, in that way.
Oh, sure. But, like, I don't know if the ramifications for the whole are necessarily just that Wally's going to become the Flash again.
No, that's true.
I could see it being different things. And I wonder, like, does he get his family back by the end? Does it actually, like, you know, ripple some of the old timeline back in? Not all of it. I don't expect all of it, or, you know, whatever we're going to get until the end of Doomsday Clock, but does it actually rewrite at least part of the... Kind of like how Superman Reborn did the Superman stuff a little bit. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Does Flash War actually give us some more status quo changes for the Flash in general?
We'll find out over the next few months.
And it ends in July, so if we're going to get any like new books spinning out of Flash War, and it sounds like we could do, because if Tom King is writing, like, say, a mini that he's not been allowed to talk about that does spin out of it, or whatever, or if there's a new ongoing that spins out of it, we're going to hear about it for the August solicits.
Yeah, I mean, we had that news just last week, right? That there might be a new Flash book coming.
We did, yeah, that rumour, yeah. That was last week.
Which,
so.
You know, and they were lined up for August, and we speculated at the time, well, that lines up with the end of Flash War.
And here again, we're having creators on Twitter say, hey, big ramification is going to, you know, ripple throughout the DCU.
Yeah, and like I said a few times last week, it lines up. I can see it.
It lines up really well. So here's hoping good things. But no, regardless, super exciting. Loved the issue.
Very good issue.
So now we'll move on. We'll move on to Batgirl number 22, the second last issue from Hope Larson. Minkyu Jung on the art for this one. Strange Loop Part 1. I think the title gave away what this was going to be, because all through the issue I was like, okay, when's it going to, like, you know, come back round and we're going to realise...
Interestingly, I kind of skimmed over the title.
I just knew the title from solicits and stuff.
I don't remember those far back. Unless it's like a big one, like Flash War,
yeah.
Or, you know, like
for whatever reason,
jokes and riddles.
For whatever reason, I remembered that her last story was going to be Strange Loop, and I just she's not breaking in, but she's bursting into this home where this asshole husband is trying to take his kid, and he's got his wife and child at gunpoint, and I actually the sick part of me kind of loved the line where. The mom's like, hey, you're going to shoot me in front of your child? He's like, I'm rich enough, I can pay for the therapy. Like, that's a darkly funny line, but
it was. I'm rich as F, I can afford to pay for it.
Yeah, but Batgirl comes in, tries to put a stop to this, but he shoots her with whatever this gun is, this fancy tech gun, and she gets like paralyzed for a little bit, but she gets back up. She sort of de-escalates the situation. Cops show up. She's got a headache, and the issue kind of goes through her. She runs into Kai from the first arc of Larson's run from when she was in Asia, and she runs into like another friend from Asia, the one who was the fighter, and it's like all this weird stuff, and it's like, oh, and she's feeling kind of out of it, and the entire time I was like, okay, this is all not real, this is all like in her head, or it's all looping around, or something.
See, I was really glad when it got to that reveal, because I was like, this is like, for a start, like, it was really weird to me the way the cops reacted, because I was like, aren't they like not friends with Batgirl right now? Didn't we just have that whole thing where she was creeping around with Gordon because the cops were kind of antagonistic?
Yeah, no, that all adds up.
I was like, that was weird. And then I was like, okay, Kai, I was like, okay, I know this is like the last arc. So I was like, okay, I see you swinging it back around. So I was fine with that. And then we got to another one from Asia. I'm like, okay, now this is feeling too coincidental. Yeah,
and to be fair, Batgirl points out, this is weird. This is the second person from my travels that I've encountered now in the last day. But no, it turns out it's all in her head. She's still lying on the floor paralyzed. The time's basically at a standstill while she's having all these thoughts in her head. Because she actually goes into her...
Like, hey, she got to sort this out.
Yeah, she goes into like her meditation, like inside her head. And it's like, inside her head, it's like, hey, this is you lying on the floor still. You have to break out of this, you're going to die. So, yeah, so she's going to have to break out of her own prison next issue. It wouldn't surprise me that if next issue we encounter more stuff from the run in her head.
It's an easy way to do a greatest hits almost, isn't it?
Yeah, to wrap it up and be the end of the run. Yeah, it absolutely is. This is not my favourite issue of Batgirl by any means. I think it was solid enough, but definitely, we've had higher highs recently.
Yeah. I thought it was better after I got to the end and, was like, oh, that's what's going on, because it was playing really weirdly for me, reading it straight.
Because I think this is probably on par with the start of the run, and I think this is a testament to how much better the run's been over, as it went along. Summer of Lies, those one-shot issues.
I think the start of the run is stronger than this, but I think the start of the run, one, it gets away with a little bit more because it's just an introduction, right? And then two, I think it was really elevated by the art.
Yeah.
So I think the start of the run stands out a little bit stronger for me.
But no, it's a fine issue. I'm looking forward to the conclusion. I'm sad to see Larson go, but we'll make the most of our last issue with her next month.
At least I think it's worth noting we were kind of not really sure if she was going, a couple of months ago, and then it was like only this solicits. We were like, okay, she is gone, and it felt a bit sudden with the way we heard about it.
Yeah.
But reading this issue, it feels clear that she went into this knowing it was the end. It wasn't like, they just went, you're done now.
Sure. Absolutely.
This feels like, okay, this is calling back. This is the end of a run.
Yeah, no. I wish it could have went on a bit longer, but, it's been such a good ride with, basically, ever since we got to, back to Burnside, I think it really started to pop. Especially when we got to the Nightwing stuff, and, I really enjoyed that Cold Snap two-parter. As much as I was disappointed of the lack of actual Cold Snap.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's still 20+ issues as a run. It's not bad.
Oh, it's not bad.
Like what, 4 or 5 trades come the end?
Yeah.
Depending on how they split them up.
It's interesting to me though that this run is basically it's one issue longer than the Stephanie Brown run that I love by Brian Q. Miller. Every time I like a Batgirl run, it seems to end about 24 issues.
Yeah, it does.
That's bizarre, but hey, it is still going to keep going with new creatives on it. Obviously,
try again next time.
So there's a fill-in issue for 24, and then 25 is the anniversary sort of issue. It's got a few stories, but the start of the next arc with the new writers. So, but no, solid, and art's good. Like as much as it may not be Albuquerque, it's
it's I think Albuquerque and then Wild Goose came in and redefined the series post that, and I don't think anyone else has lived up to Wild Goose, personally.
They've definitely been keeping the style that he set up, though.
Yeah. I don't think any of them have done it quite as well.
But hey.
But it's still been, pretty solid at the very worst.
Did you see that new variant for one of the upcoming issues this week?
I did, and the Middleton one.
Yeah, Middleton. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
God, Middleton is so good.
But hey, so we'll move on to the Terrifics #3, Jeff Lemire and Joe Bennett on the art. Ivan Reese couldn't even do 3 issues.
It's becoming like a bit of a you know how you have your Buffy gag. This is my thing that this line cannot keep artists. What is going on with this shit? Come on.
It's worth to say. The art's fine. It's not bad art.
It's not bad art. It's just, oh man, not even 3 issues.
It's just funny.
We're not getting 3 issues of this. We're not getting 3 issues of Shayna.
The artist focused line, because it's Bennett as well, right? That's just doing the 6th issue.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's coming back round.
Yeah.
So. The Terrifics are still trapped at Stag's Industry, and they're going to be trapped there for a while. He's like, you can't leave, all your tech's here, and blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of the setup. There's a lot of fun stuff. Plastic Man was cracking me up. At one point when Stag's daughter's like, Rexy, we have to go catch up, or whatever it was, and Plastic Man just makes this big heart come out of his chest, like, oh, yes, Rexy.
Yeah.
Just good stuff. It's really like establishing the characters, it's establishing... that Phantom Girl really wants to get home and contact home, and Terrific still being a bit of a stubborn prick, and he's like, no, one problem at a time, no time for rest, because they have this big war wheel attack. It's one of Stag's tech, and they're not really sure who activated it. That's like a mystery for the future. But Terrific's accusing Stag's saying, Terrific, you're the one who probably set it off when you were tinkering with things. But they fight that. Again, there's fun stuff. Of course, going back to this reference or kind of parodying Marvel things, the Hardball special cannot be ignored, where Plastic Man forms a giant slingshot and Metamorpho becomes a rock to be launched. Which actually, in the little touch that I really loved, is that he launches through Phantom Girl.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, there's a neat little touch to add onto it. While she's because obviously anything she touches when she's tangible explodes, so she's like exploding the guns on this big murder wheel.
Yeah,
as it's going on. So no, fun action, very pulpy again, which is what I love about the book. There's a interlude scene that's setting up a future arc where a very demonic looking version of Metamorpho is causing chaos in another city.
Yeah, I have to say I was not a fan of this interlude. It felt really jarring to just.
So not the content itself, just the way it was.
Yeah, I get what it's doing. The meanwhile, the whole thing that they're doing there. I get it. I just don't think it plays that well. Like what it's actually in it is fine. I'm sure it'll be a fun arc to get there.
It's funny because it did take me aback a little bit because it's weird to see now. But at the same time, given how pulpy and Silver Age this feels, it did feel very Silver Age to do this. I mean, you know, in this, but that's a story for a different time, dear readers. Let's go back to the main action.
Yeah, I think it's weird to say, meanwhile, that this is happening simultaneously. That's the implication there. So
I assume that's the next arc, because they'll find out that it's happening in the next issue.
Probably, but it was just really weird for me the way it played.
That's fair. It didn't bother me, but I get it. Yeah, I get that it feels weird. I kind of like the Silver Age kind of aspect of it, but
I get it. I think it's a little bit jarring.
Yeah, but yeah. So obviously at the end, like Terrific's determined. He's going to he's analyzing this Tom Strong footage, and he's like, I'm going to figure out who Mera you are and how to save the world. Meanwhile, the rest are actually bonding a little bit because they've actually agreed to like go get some food, even though Phantom Girl can't eat yet. But she's like, no, that's fine. A rest would be good. And they're going off to get some food. And hell, even because obviously Plastic Man and Rex have been bickering constantly. Basically, I mean, there's some fun stuff during the fight where Plastic Man's like, hey, Terrific, would it kill you to say please? And then Rex is like, would it kill you to shut up for a minute? Like,
and he wants to call them the Plastics.
Call them the Plastics. He's like, go Plastics, go. Like, no, we're not doing that. I don't know how Terrific's going to get across that they should call themselves the Terrifics, because that's essentially, in the same way that the Plastic Man wants to call himself the Plastics, is very vain from his point of view.
It is, and that's pretty much my biggest critique with this issue. Is I feel like, I don't know, I'm not feeling the cast bonding to. They're not quite there yet. And they're not quite bouncing off each other as much as I want them to. It feels a little forced still to me.
I don't know, I'm liking the bouncing off. Well enough.
That's fair. Like certain things feel like nice, but other time I'm like, it's kind of just there because it is.
And now I feel like by the end of the issue, the three that aren't Terrific have bonded. Not super friends yet or anything like that, but by any means. But
it's getting there, but it's not. I don't know. It's still not quite working for me. I will say as well, my real criticism though is Terrific, because he feels a bit out of character to be this much of a dick. And I get that they're going for the Reed Richards thing. I get that.
I mean, I feel we'll get more of that as we go on. Just to go back to the whole thing when it's not working yet for you, I feel like I don't want it to be any faster than this, though. I actually kind of like the pace of which they're bonding in this.
Fair enough. I think it's just certain things aren't playing quite as nicely in the issue. Like, just certain lines are kind of falling flat for me.
Well, no, I'm not feeling that. I had a giant smile across my face pretty much this entire issue. I think even the scene with Rex, where he kind of puts his foot in his mouth, where he's arguing with Staggs' daughter about like, oh, I should leave and your dad's an asshole and so on. Like, that was probably my least favourite scene of the issue. It was definitely the least funnish scene of the issue. But even that, like him like sort of beating himself up about it and stuff, I got the sort of like the big friendly giant vibe from it, and I was kind of into it in that sense.
Fair enough. I'm thinking more when what's her name comes and visits Terrific, when he's down figuring stuff out, and she's like, I want to contact my home player. Like all this sort of bit here just feels a bit off to me.
Alright, I didn't feel it, but
it's not the worst. It's just starting to. I'm noticing it as I'm going on.
Yeah, I mean, I still love this issue. I'm still super excited. This was the third thing I read. It was Flash Detective. This.
Fair enough.
So
this was the last thing I read, but that was not. I don't really have the same mentality as you in terms of I read the exciting thing first.
Oh, I always do that.
I will do if it's like a huge, if it's a Doomsday Clock or a big event. I'm going to read that first. Because conversation can't have that spoiled for me. But these things that typically don't get spoiled anyway, unless I actively go searching for it, I can kind of just read them at my leisure.
Okay. No, I'm still super on board with Terrifics. It's still the fun pulpy book alongside the other stuff. Where Flash is doing all this, big emotional Speed Force, timey-wimey, possible breaking reality stuff. Detective's doing my hard hitting kind of Bat Family story. Yeah. Terrifics is just this nice pulpy side tray that goes along with it, just nice. So I'm into it. So we'll move on. We'll move on to Teen Titans number 19. Benjamin Percy writing, Scot Eaton on the art. This is wrapping up. This is actually Percy's final issue of Teen Titans, actually. I almost said Green Arrow there. But this is his final issue of Teen Titans. And it wraps up the story we've had where Beast Boy's kind of become indoctrinated in this weird Peter Pan cult that's using this tech to control all these kids and to try and take over the world, I guess. I mean, that plot was fine. It was whatever. It wasn't super interesting, whatever. This issue was a bit more fun with it because Beast Boy's being controlled, and he turns into like a giant, like flying monster, and Robin ends up like fighting him with Goliath. So we get like Beast versus Beast in the sky. Meanwhile, young Wally has to phase into all of the kids' heads to take out their implants to like stop them all. And he's all like freaking out. He's like, I can't do that. I mean, I've phased into some things, but like brains are another matter. Like I could like cause an accident and they'll think they're a dog. Like
some explosiveness.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. And then Raven like gives him some motivating by kissing him and like, hey, I took a risk there. You go take a risk with these people's brains. That
was actually something that reminds me in Flash. Robin references this relationship that him and Raven have, and obviously I've not really seen much of that. So, how's that been playing?
It's not a super thing at the forefront. It's been kind of like hinted at a few times, where she went to go get him and he left the team, and then he stuck up for her at one point, and it's been kind of hinted at. This was kind of the first proper real acknowledgement of it in any big way outside of someone's got a crush. But it's been there, it's been ticking over in the last couple of months. So that's that, and it all wraps up. Honestly, like the actual wrap up of it, and it's like, okay, we're Titans, we do this together. They're kind of bonded as a team a little bit more than they have been recently, because they split up. The tower got destroyed. We actually end with them having like a picnic near the sort of half destroyed tower. And the most interesting thing, of course, is the big final page where Brainiac shows up with multiple ships behind him. It's like the bomb's like, to be continued and no justice #1.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
That's your big final thing. So like you say, there's a lot of things this week. There's setting up the new Teen Titans in Flash with Damian showing up for Wally. This setting up young No Justice. Same with of course the end of Wonder Woman, setting up kind of where Darkseid is going to be. There was a lot of things this week that was kind of setting up the next little phase.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that stuff.
Yeah.
Not too long to wait now. I think next issue is the special, right?
Yeah, next issue you get the specials for both Titans and Teen Titans.
Not.
Oh no! Wait, sorry, that's June. A month off.
I didn't say next month. I said next issue.
Okay, sure, but just for the record, it's June that we're getting those.
That's fine. But that's the new writer that's on that, yeah.
Yes, that's the start of the new runs. Yeah.
Yes, so that'll be where I'll be jumping on.
Have a look and see what they do. Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't an amazing issue. It was a fine issue. Had some fun beats here or there. Kind of like a lot of Percy's Teen Titans. It's been solidly kind of entertaining and fun, but never kind of like it's not been his Green Arrow. His Green Arrow definitely shoot for the moon a little bit more and felt a bit more rounded in that sense. Teen Titans has just been more sort of like constant kind of a B book. Occasionally dip into a C, but often
obviously
a B.
I've not read much of this one, but do you think the art elevated Green Arrow a bit? Or do you think even with the same artist as on Teen Titans, it would still play a lot better for you than what's actually happening in Teen Titans?
No, I think Green Arrow is just a better written book for the most part. Obviously, there's the occasional stumble, and it had maybe better art overall. But that's the thing, Teen Titans has typically had pretty good art.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Teen Titans throughout has had a very consistent art style, very sort of bright colours, bold lines, very expressive. It's been kind of right for the characters that it's portraying. So. And it has been through a few artists. We had, Koi Pham for a while, and so on. We've had a few different artists, but they've kind of kept a consistent kind of look to them throughout the book. So it's been a solid, like, dependable, fun book to read. But it's never felt important to the line. It's never felt like it's important to the DCU. This book, but that's okay. Not every book has to feel important to the line, but it's definitely filled that little void. And I wonder. If they'll try and make it feel more like a big deal with this new run, or if it'll just sort of go back into that groove, but doing its own little thing with its new characters. We'll see if the new writer's any good. But hey, but obviously Brainiac showing up in the last page was exciting. So
obviously, yeah.
So Titan books are off for a month. Now, while it would make sense to go to Titans next, I didn't want to do two, just me on my own, back to back. So I was jumping over to Connor for Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, number 43, with Robert Venditti writing, Rafa Sandoval on art, and you can take it away.
So last issue we ended with the Dark Stars coming in, Tomatsu had been taken away. That's very inconsiderate to our listeners who maybe enjoy this book more than you. I sat very quietly during your shite.
Look, I know that's not a comment on the book. I just wanted to do it because you started speaking. I just thought it was funny. That's all.
Yeah, but inconsiderate. Not to me, to them. Apologise to them.
If I upset any of our dear viewers or listeners, I deeply apologise. But I think you'll all at least respect annoying Connor just a little bit.
I'll do. But yeah, so we open this with a bunch of just a page.
This is the start of the Dark Stars thing, right? This issue.
I don't know if it's the start. I don't know if this is technically part 1 because it kind of just feels like it's running on. No, this is part 2.
This is part 2. Okay, so it was last issue.
This is still Dark Stars Rising Prelude Part 2.
Okay, all right.
Yes. Like I say, this whole from last issue to the end of the run is kind of one big thing split up into mini sections.
All right.
But we basically just open with a sequence of Dark Stars just have brutally murdered a bunch of criminals in various locations. The ending is of that is they killed this entire they killed this whole prison, and they were all given a life sentence. The planet doesn't have the death penalty, but they just came in and wiped them all out anyway. So we cut into the 4 Earthmen talking to the Guardians, and John's as the leader is saying, "Hey, look, I know you kind of took a back seat on Zod, but this is undermining our position in the universe. It's like we can't be the police force if this is all just kind of happening." It makes a point of saying there has been 47 events have happened in the last 3 days, and it's only going to get worse. And they track them back to a planet in Space Sector 1.
Ooh, 1.
Yeah, 1. And then they spend a bit trying to convince the Guardians of going, hey, look, we really need to do this, and it's just not right. And the Guardians are like, all right, yeah, go on then. We agree. The controllers are a bit out of it. If they're using the Dark Stars as an execution squad, then they should probably be dealt with. Go and take they're like, you're the leader. Take the other Earthmen, and then whoever else you want, and go and deal with it. So we get a gorgeous panel of just a good handful of lanterns flying through space, going towards it, going into battle, and looks pretty great. The art in this is pretty fantastic throughout, actually. Might be my favorite issue that Sandoval's done yet, and it's been pretty consistent, but it's been getting better as well. So that's nice. But they get there, and John's like, "Hey, Stell, go and scout out that planet because it doesn't look too bad from here." And then they turn around and it's like, "Hang on, he's not there. Where is he?" And they give him a message on the ring. He's like, "I'm back on Mogo. What happened?" It turns out the Dark Stars can phase jump. We saw that they could teleport in to get Tomar-2 last issue, but what they can do is they just grab hold of the lanterns and teleport them back to Mogo and just leave them and drop them there, with the exception of Hal. They take everyone else to Mogo, but not Hal, who they take into their headquarters.
Hal's special.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason, but this is where we get that double page spread that is turned vertically instead, and it's just you just see the lines and lines of the Dark Stars and just how many there are, and that's why they took Hal. They took him so that they can have someone to see what they're actually up against, just see how many of them there are. And we have Tomar-2 come down and talk to him and try and talk him out of the whole conflict that's going on here. It's this idea of, look, you do your thing, whatever, we don't care, but we're going to keep doing this. So what are you going to do? And he basically says, do you know what? You're useful in what you're doing to us because you're still catching the criminals. So it just means they're all in one place for us to come and kill. So they kind of don't want to take out the Green Lanterns. And, when they phase back John and the others, they kind of give them a message of, look how many of us there are. Hal can tell you that there's way too many of us. You can't take us. Stand down, keep doing your thing, don't interfere, but we're not going to kill you unless you force us to. We don't want to kill the innocent, only criminals. And Tomatu seems to be kind of their leader. He seems to be speaking for them. There are other Dark Stars that are like, hey, we should just kill them. It's not worth the effort. And he's like, no. They're like, they think he's blinded because obviously he spent time as a Lantern. They're like, yeah, you're just letting these past loyalties. But he makes points like, no, they're not criminals. They're just doing their thing. They have a different ideology, but they're not criminal for it. So we shouldn't be just killing them. And they do stand down for now, at least. And John has to make the others all stand down because he knows that they can't take him out. There's just too many of them. And that's the end of the issue. We go with them looking to go and get help. Like Hal's going back to Earth. Kyle's going to some space satellite I don't quite recognize.
Well, that reminds me actually, in Flash, and when you see all of the memories, Kyle's got his glorious 90s outfit on. It's great.
You and I have very different meanings of the word great.
Ah, no, that beautiful crab mask. It's great.
Oh, that mask is the worst.
Best Green Lantern. Well, best until Jess. Now Jess is the best Green Lantern, but...
No. But, so this is what's interesting. So Hal's going off to Earth. I mean, he could be going for either the League for backup, maybe Carol to get her, get the other Corps involved.
Hmm.
So Kyle's going off to this satellite, which I'm not sure what that one is. Guy's just going into a dive bar, presumably just getting some criminals. Because this is the point over this, we have John's speech at the end. It's like, look, it doesn't matter if they are typically our allies or not. Right now, the Dark Stars are a threat to any criminal. And, if they're against the Dark Stars, then they're good enough for our fight right now, because that's what we need.
That's an interesting premise.
It is.
I kind of like that.
Here's where it gets really interesting, is I think the final panel, just based on the look here, to me, is John is going to visit Zod.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
interesting.
They really are going for help.
I'm interested in this.
It's really good. Honestly, I can't believe that this book has gotten this good.
It's 40 plus issues I need to read though.
Yeah.
We'll see how I feel. We'll see if I feel. Because I've been trying to read more classic stuff, and this is going to stop all that immediately. I'm going to have to sit down and just read.
It is, but it's actually like
next 2 weeks.
This run has gotten so much better over time. Like it's really settled into a groove, and the other thing I should mention as well is that the controllers are not in charge. They we mentioned last issue that they were surprised when the Dark Star suits started up. They've actually got them like tied up, and they're still alive. They need them to control the suits to keep them connected and stuff, and their powers are linked through them. But they have no control over the Dark Stars. They're doing their own thing. So it's a question of, is there sentience in the suits? Is it the wearer that's controlling it? It's there are some questions being raised for sure.
Here's a question: how much of Carol has there been in this book?
I think the last time we saw her was in like issue 30 or so. There was there was a bit of like her and Hal being like, yeah, okay, we should probably have a talk. And I don't think we've seen her since then.
I was just curious how prominent the supporting cast for the Lanterns were. But... Not
particularly, but I mean, as much as that's been a fault, I guess the Corps in general have had quite a spotlight.
Yeah, all the Alien Corps members we don't typically get tons of. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a whole big thing with the Sinestro Corps for quite the first 20 odd issues. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them come back in to help now. Actually.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it makes sense. Basically forming a Lantern Suicide Squad team, essentially.
Kind of, yeah.
There's potential. There's potential. I don't know if I'll actually bother catching up and reading it, but the fact that I'm mildly tempted is worth something.
It's credit to the book that it's grown, because at the start this was not very good at all.
Yeah, none of us wanted to read it, and then you started reading it, and you kind of liked it, so you stuck with it. You convinced Matt to catch up and read it. He did. Then he left it, and then you convinced him to catch up again.
Yeah, it's had its moments of like, okay, this is not great. At the start, the stuff it was doing with Hal was pretty rough, but I did enjoy the core side of things. But now it's a really well-rounded book, and I'm really looking forward to this final stretch.
Oh dear. All right. Okay. Well, there you go. That was Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps. And as per usual right now, because there's so much change coming, I'm very curious to see what comes next.
Yeah, see if those rumours from last week pan out even remotely.
Post issue 50. Whether that means it's a new book or it's just going to be 51 by new team.
It's exciting to know. We should know in the next 3 weeks or so, given when solicits are due.
Do you know, this is one where I'm actually almost hoping it's a new book, and rather than just continuing the numbering, because I don't like the title of this book.
You want it to just be Green Lantern?
Yeah, just Green Lantern Corps would be.
Green Lantern Corps, yeah.
Would do me. I just don't like the title, because it's the same thing with Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. Just call it Birds of Prey.
Yeah, it feels like disingenuous that there feels like there has to be a spotlight on Hal.
Yeah.
In this book, and arguably the book's at its best when it's not focused on Hal, and we just spotlight the others.
They retitled Gotham City Sirens for the omnibus to Harley Quinn and the Gotham City Sirens, and I'm like, screw you.
Yeah, no, that's a good run. I have the thick paperbacks they did 3 or 4 years ago.
I do. I've never read it. It's Denny, right?
It's the first 3/4 of it is, yeah.
Yeah. Something I mean to get around to for a long time, but I just never have. But hey, anyway, so that's this Hal and Pals, which will take us on to Mera, Queen of Atlantis #3. Dan Abnett writing, Lan Medina on the art. I mean, it's actually kind of funny. Like, this could have easily been called Mera in Orm.
Is he that prominent?
He is. It's as much as his book as it is hers, honestly. If anything, it feels disingenuous to all the people who thought, oh, Mera finally gets her own book. It almost feels a little bit of a cheat that it's actually kind of co-starring a guy. Yeah.
I get you.
I think that's a fair complaint. If you feel pissed about that, I think that's fair. To be fair, though, it's not bad. I mean, I think
it's going back to what we were talking about earlier, how it's being disappointing in what you were promised versus what you get.
Yeah, I don't mind it, but at least with this one, even if it doesn't typically bother you, if you were someone who was pleased that she was finally getting the spotlight, I could see why you'd maybe be just slightly pissed that it's not entirely on her. So they were fighting last issue was a bit weaker because it was mostly just them fighting. This issue, because we ended the last one with Orm's Earth or land family, not Earth family, his land family, coming and seeing what he was doing, and this issue is far more interesting because it's actually that confrontation and them saying, no, what's this duty you keep talking about? You have to do this duty to go back to Atlantis because you need to, protect and you're a king and blah, blah, blah. You've got a duty to us, we're your family, so on and so forth. And, they basically, it does this almost, funny cut at one point to where they've talked them down and they're actually inside the house and, Mera's sitting there with a cup of coffee, Orm's got a cup of coffee, the wife's talking to Mera about what's going on, and she's talking to him, and it becomes this weird thing. She basically says, "Oh, you're going to run off to Atlantis and leave us, and you're making all these excuses that, oh, we wouldn't understand, so I'll just leave a note and just abandon you forever. That's a bullshit excuse, and you know it." And basically, she comes up with this idea, you should work together. I know you've got this tension between you, but if you both want to save, Atlantis and Aquaman, work together. And maybe you could solve this problem. And Mera, I trust you to make sure he comes back to me. And, so that's kind of what the issue's about. It's about them sort of agreeing that they're going to work together to try and help Aquaman in the war that's going on and take down Wrath. So there's a flashback at the start to Mera when she was first in Zebel, and she had this, this arranged marriage, and she was meant to marry this guy, and she was meant to follow his orders, and it's all about how she wasn't willing to let the poor people be expendable, because they're like, oh no, all the peasants can die, they're fine, they're expendable, we have to protect the royal palace, that's what we're doing, and she's against that. So it's all set up because at the end of the book, basically, okay, to defeat Wrath, we need an army, so they're going back to Zebel, and so it's Orm and Mera going to Zebel, and so the end of the book is the guy she was supposed to marry, but it's the traitor wife, and that's kind of where we end the book. So if you're into the mythology of the extended mythology of Aquaman and Zebel and Orm and all that stuff, and the fact that Chill is his half sister, which by the way his wife to be did not even know he had a sister, so when he mentions that she's really pissed. She actually smashes a cup. She's like, God damn it, Orm.
It's pretty amusing. I've got a whole bit of family out there I didn't know about.
Yeah, it's proper the family comedy. It's not even really meant to be comedy, but I was getting chuckles out of it. But not in a so bad it's funny way. Just in a it was amusing to me. Just all this stuff and her. She kept finding out new things about him. I feel like Mera just conveniently didn't. Was I could really bring up the fact that he tried to wage a war on the land and almost and drowned half of Boston or whatever it was. I'll keep quiet though. I'll keep quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, remember when that happened?
Things are bad enough. But that was a fine issue. It's continuing to be like a solid secondary Aquaman book. I don't think it's essential. Like I have a feeling that in the main Aquaman book at the end of the arc, like she'll probably shop with an army, and like if you want to know where that happened, you have to read this. But other than that,
almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, you're probably fine not reading it if you don't want to. But I think it's a solid enough read if you're into Aquaman and his surrounding mythos. So I don't know, it's fine. But hey, so that'll take us on to the Silencer number 4. Dan Abnett. In fact, this is 3 Dan Abnett books in a row. He was busy this week. Dan Abnett, Viktor Bogdanovic on it. So art's good.
Yeah, it is.
That's great.
It's not 3 Abnett books in a row because I did Harlem Pals.
No, the next one's Abnett.
Oh right, okay. Sorry, I'm with you now.
This is 2 of 3.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
So we have this kind of flashback to when she first, like, when Silencer wanted to leave Leviathan, and Talia was like, no, and she's like, no, like, I want to leave, let me leave, and she's like, okay, I've got a mission for you, and she gets sent on this mission for this guy who was part of Leviathan. He was like a bookkeeper, and he's got this nice family, and it's all about how Silencer's like wanting a regular family, and but she's like, okay, I'll do this mission. It's like, but he seems okay. He doesn't seem like he's a bad guy. Why am I taking him out? And when she goes to kill him, it turns out that he actually did ask to leave. He asked to get out.
Talia actually says, if he'd just come to me and asked, I'd let him. I'm reasonable. But no, he went behind our back and tried to sell the secrets to get out.
Yeah, but we find out that no, he did ask to get out. She said no, and then he felt he was in a corner. This is his only option, was to try and get out this way. And so, but of course, the other big thing here is that Deathstroke was hired by whoever's protecting him to protect them. DC's there to sort of interference. And Silencer's good enough that she actually gets Deathstroke out of the way long enough to actually complete the job. And Deathstroke and her fight a little bit. There's an explosion. It all looks very nice, very, very cinematic. Like I say, the art's very good. I think the panel where it goes, because it's cutting back and forth between present day and the flashback timeline. We go back to the past again, and she's like standing on a rooftop, and it's night time, and she's like, you can just see the visor, and this is really, really good stuff. Yeah. Bogdanovic is very, very good. So
it is. That said, I'm a little conflicted on this issue because step up in the art, but I feel the writing it's a lot clunkier than it was before. There's a lot more dialogue and a lot more thought boxes, narration boxes than there were before. It feels a little overcrowded. Like if you just look at the opening page, there's just a whole sequence of narration boxes, and I feel like I don't know, there wasn't quite that much. It feels like more than there was before.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder if it's because it was less of an action-focused issue, because it was dealing with so much of this setup of the past, and then the present-day stuff was, again, it was set up of, well, here's her home life, she's struggling with the washing machine, and she's going to get more guns when the guy's like, make sure you take out, put Talia back in charge, because she's awful, but she kept a tight ship, things were okay.
No, it could well be. It feels a little clunkier than the last few have.
That's fair. It could just be the flashback structure more than anything. There's maybe
it could.
He's trying to squeeze too much into the one issue, and you're getting that kind of effect. I actually, thinking about it, I kind of agree it didn't flow as quickly as the previous issues. I guess that's where I'm feeling the effect of that. Obviously, the big ending is it cuts back to present day, and Deathstroke kind of like literally lands on her car.
Yeah.
For round 2.
I like that we have an older Deathstroke costume for the flashbacks.
Yeah, no, that's a nice touch.
Notably, though, he seems to have 2 eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're back at that point of his life.
Yeah, Deathstroke's all over the place. We get Deathstroke and everything. And he was in Justice League for the last arc, now he's in Silencer. He was, obviously, his own book. Because that's Deathstroke.
Also, one of the touches I liked most is, she's taken out the target and she's got the zone on. And you hear him saying something, or you see he's saying something, but you see the speech bubble, but it's blank. Because obviously it's in the zone. Yeah. And she's like, do you know what? I should probably hear his last words at the very least. Give him that much respect. And, cancels and just cuts in mid-sentence.
Her power, honestly, is actually really intriguing to me, because I feel like it has a lot of little dramatic points. Because whenever we see her fighting in a bubble and no one outside it hears any of it, it's been really, it's had a good, set-piece kind of, atmosphere to it, where the kid's in the car and he can't hear anything, but we see them fighting in the background. It always
plays like you'll see it a lot in movies and TV where there's a fight going on, but someone's got their back to it and they've got some headphones on, so they're listening to some music and don't notice it's going on behind them.
Kind of that, but I feel like that's usually played more for comedy, whereas this actually has like another effect to it.
Right, it's got a dramatic version of that.
Yeah, and it works. And it's the same thing with the speech bubble, where I should turn this off and hear his last words. Like again, it's a little dramatic moment that comes out of it. I like her power a lot. I think it actually has a lot of neat little storytelling and at least artistic set piece moments as well. Maybe
I think it's why it stands out amongst this line as, do you know what, this is kind of unique.
Yeah, I could do with this sticking around.
Yeah, like, as much as you're enjoying, Sideways, it plays like, okay, it's kind of like a Spider-Man-y sort of book.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even though the power's a bit different, it plays like that.
Yeah.
This doesn't play like any of those sorts of things. It feels much more, oh, okay, no, this is unique. This is its own thing.
Yeah, I still like Terrifics way more, but I am enjoying this still quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, no, it was a solid issue. Like I say, art is definitely a step up, which is nice.
It is art's a step up. I hope the writing's a little bit, a little bit freer next issue, because
I feel like next issue might almost entirely be one big fight between her and Deathstroke. So you might get.
I am 100% okay with that from Bogdanovic.
I feel like that might be what next issue is, or at least most of it. So hey, that's the Silencer, which will take us on to our final book of the week. That is Titans Annual number 2. Now I've not been talking about this every month. But I actually talked about the first issue of this arc. If you remember, I talked about the issue where Roy gets tricked by Cheshire, and he wakes up and it's like he's been drugged. So it's like he's like back on the pills, but he's not really. And it's the Brain and Mala who are up to no good with this drug. So this is actually the end of that arc. I read all the issues in between this. And what's interesting to me about this is that it's mainly Donna and Roy. Donna's like trapped in the Watchtower, which is still existing right now, and Roy's like the one dealing with all the crime on the streets. And then eventually, when Donna thinks he's relapsed and he's on drugs, she actually like calls Dick and Wally, and Dick and Wally come out of the book. They came in the last issue, and he's kind of pissed that they assume that he's actually using again. He doesn't believe that there's this big plot to like do all these bad things from the Brain. And what's funny in this issue is that Donna actually like escaped the Watchtower at the end of the last issue, came down and saved his life at the last minute, and it's them as a pair like fighting against this, and it's when everything starts going off. Basically what's happening is the Brain, with Mala's help of course, is using this drug to tap into all these other brains that are using the drug to raise his intellect, and as he's getting more and more intellectual, he's getting so super smart that he's controlling everything. He's controlling like satellites that's controlling the weather. He's doing all these crazy like comic booky things. So the science doesn't hold up very well, but it's at least fun from a comic book perspective.
That's good enough.
And but he's getting less and less humane as he goes on, and he keeps it almost goes on a little bit too much. But I do enjoy Mala and the Brain's relationship, where he keeps like saying things like, "Oh, I am going to rule the world." He's like, "Oh, you mean us, right, Brain? I mean, both of us. You're taking me with you." He's like, "Oh yes, I love you, Mala. Like, you're loving my life. We will do this." But gradually, you know exactly where it's going. Where eventually he's going to be so inhumane that Mala's going to help the Titans defeat him by the end. And that's exactly what happens. But I thought what was interesting to me is that Donna and Roy are coming to fight him, and eventually Dick and Wally come in and help save the day, and it's the four of them. And what I thought was curious is that, okay, this is the Titans coming back together after they've broke up, and it's like the four of them working together. And it even ends with, when they call the Justice League, like, hey, we solved this problem, we saved the world. Because we actually see the Justice League during the book. We see that they're all basically incapacitated. What the Brain's doing is actually he's trapped them all in various like situations around the world, and they're all screwed. And because he's that smart, and it's the Titans that saved the day. And when Donna calls me, it was us, it was the Titans who did this. We saved the day. And at one point someone says Titans together, and it's the usual hurrah, Titans together, and it's all fun, like all that stuff's fun. But what's interesting is it's just those four. There's no Omen, there's no Tempest, Bumblebee doesn't come back. It's just these four, and it is kind of the four main core members, because this is the Batman sidekick originally, the Flash sidekick originally, the Green Arrow sidekick, and the Wonder Woman sidekick. It's the four sort of main Titans. Characters you think of, because I definitely think Omen and Tempest and Bumblebee, they're the B layer of the team.
They're often around, but they're not what you come for.
And given that we know the new direction for Titans is going to have Dick in it, it's going to have Donna in it, but no Roy or Wally, interestingly, which is why we're sort of like, so we know Roy's going to be in Green Arrow prominently going forward, and maybe Wally will be in Flash or something else if something else comes up new books wise. But I think the idea of Dick being the leader and like Donna being there as the sort of co-leader and setting up where the book's going makes kind of sense to me.
Oh, definitely.
So, and again, it kind of ends with a, hey, catches in the next Titan special, but next time there's going to be no justice, come back for that, kind of thing. So, and I laughed when this was announced in the solicits, because it's not a week 5, but there's an annual, when there was an issue this month, and it's basically, and kind of like how I said, is like, they wanted to do this finish before No Justice, so they just give this an annual in a random month beforehand, just so that they could finish the arc.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's basically what it is.
The only logical conclusion to that.
It's basically the final 2 issues of the arc, but they only had 1 issue left, so that's...
Better squeeze it in somewhere.
Yeah. So yeah, the final line is, we did this, the Titans, together, and that's the final page of the book. So there was no like like Brainiac showing up like Teen Titans, but it feels like it's leading into what's coming next. So, no, I mean, I enjoyed the arc. The arc was probably one of the best arcs of the book. Probably was the best arc of the book. I think the best issue of the book was maybe one of the two the one shots that came in between the arcs. This was probably the most fun one, probably because it pared down the team a little bit, and it felt like it actually had a story to tell, as opposed to spinning its wheels, I think, than some of the other ones did. Even if some of the elements were a little bit obvious and it was kind of clear where it was going to go with Mal and the brain, it still mostly was fun time. This was, and I'm excited for the new direction of Titans. A, because we're getting like Miss Martian and we're getting, other team members jumping on. But I'm hoping the renewed sense of directions won't really.
It's still Abnett though, right?
It's still Abnett, yeah.
Yeah, I might check it out just because it's the fresh. See if with some new direction he can get back in the groove of things, like we saw with Aquaman with some direction.
Yeah, Abnett can do good stuff, and especially when the art elevates it, he can be really solid.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Hoping that the refresh and direction is enough to sort of bring him out of maybe some of the rut. Even though I do think this arc was probably the most fun I had with it.
That's good.
All run, so that's a plus. But hey, so that's Titans. But that does bring an end to the books of the week, which means, as we always do, we will pick our favourites. We will pick our top 5 books of the week, as long as best panel, best art, best cover, all that kind of stuff. So we'll start with best panel / moment, and I'm going to jump in here and take the obvious.
That's fine. I wasn't going to take it anyway.
Yeah, but it's Wally. It's remembering. Like nothing made me like fist pump quite the way that did this week. I had a giant grin on my face. I was like, yes, all of it.
I get it.
Everything. All right, what's yours?
It's also from the Flash, but I'm going with the Kiss page.
Okay, no, I can see that.
I think it's a gorgeous image.
I can absolutely see that. So, best cover, I guess, next. I don't have one ready for this, actually. I usually do.
Right, I can jump in on this one. I'll give a shout out to the variant on Hal Jordan. It's the 4 Earthmen. It's a pretty good cover, but ultimately I have to give it to the Batgirl variant because Middleton is phenomenal. It's just gorgeous.
I don't remember what it is. Somebody would look at it.
It's her jumping over the city, essentially. Sunset, sunrise, whatever it is, and some bats around her.
Oh yeah, that's really nice. Interesting. That's not a Superman variant like most of them have been.
It's not. No. I didn't see the Wonder Woman one this week, which is why I haven't picked it. Because usually they're pretty much a safe bet that they look good. I'll have a quick glance at it now.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's good. It's solid. Honestly, I think I'm probably going to go with that Batgirl variant as well. Nothing else is screaming to me. Nothing else is jumping out as... As I said, the Terrifics cover's quite nice, but I think Batgirl variant's the one that's hitting it for me. Alright, so that's cover. Best art next. What have you got for this?
This is kind of tough. I don't think there was an easy standout one this week. Like Flash is good, but I had a couple too many issues with the faces here or there that kind of... It would feel disingenuous to say that's the best art. It feels like there's got to be something better when I have.
Yeah, I mean, I like Flash's art. I think I have to nudge it to Bogdanovic though for Silencer. I think that's the one that sticks out as overall.
No, it's very good.
Best.
I think I'm gonna go with Sandoval for Hal Jordan.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Which does take us to best top 5 books of the week.
Best top 5.
Best top 5, yeah. Sharp. What were you picking?
So Flash is number 1. I think I'll go Hal Jordan at 2. Detective at 3. Batgirl 4, and then Terrifics 5.
Cool. I'm going Flash number 1 as well. I'm going to go Terrifics number 2. Then number 3, I'll go Detective. Number 4. Number 4, I'll go Silencer. And then number 5, Batgirl. There you go. That's the top 5s of the week. So hey, there's actually more books than I thought there was this week when we actually got to it.
Yeah.
But hey, that's good. It's still a shorter episode than usual. This is a bit closer to the 90-minute mark than...
yeah, those typically happen when there's only 2 of us, because you have one less person giving their input.
Well, not really. It's half an hour of news. That's it, right there.
Oh yeah, well, that's true. That helps.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's, like I said, there's more books than you expected this week.
Oh, well, true. Just but not necessarily less than the last few weeks.
Oh, fair enough.
Just I thought it was a later week and it wasn't. It was just the same.
Oh, okay then, I'm with you.
So hey, so that does lead me to telling you what's coming next week from the DC Comics conglomerate. DC Nation issue 0 is coming next week, which is teasing No Justice, Man of Steel, and Batman's Wedding. So that'll be a fun thing.
And just on that note, it's worth everyone remembering that next Saturday is Free Comic Book Day.
It is indeed. Sorry, my cat was leaning the keyboard there and causing all sorts of chaos.
Because cats are the worst.
Yeah. So yeah, DC Nation issue 0 is out next week. Also, Action Comics Special number 1, that's wrapping up. Jurgen's run on Action Comics, that's next week. Plus we have Batman 46, we have Green Lanterns 46, we have Green Arrow number 40, we have Nightwing 44, which is the start of Percy's run, so that's exciting. We have Deathstroke number 31. We also have, well, that's not what we will be covering. Also out, I don't know if you want to jump into Harley Quinn, Harley Loves Joker number 1, the Denny issue.
Maybe. Actually, I think this is just the wrapping up the
backups.
The backups.
Okay.
So probably not.
Curse of Brimstone number 2 is out. None of us were particularly excited on the first issue.
I'm not reading it. You can if you want.
It's a lighter week next week, so I may give it a look, or maybe not. It was a bit of a chore to get through that first issue.
Enthusiasm.
Also, Cyborg number 22 is out next week too. So that's what's out next week. So oddly quieter week 1, but it does perk up the following week because that's when No Justice starts. So look forward to all of that stuff. Also, that week is also the start of Connor's month of Red Hood.
It is indeed.
So you can look forward to that as well.
Be starting with No Justice.
Yeah. So that has been episode 101 of Comics from the Multiverse. It is worth mentioning, I've been promising for a couple, just since last week basically, the equivalent to the Crypt in the Vault for the Comics Monthly as a new Patreon kind of perk, along with the bonus episode a month, where you get to submit, or patrons get to submit trades and collections that will go into the list. The list will be public once it's got a few titles on it, and we'll pick them for the monthly episode that we do on Patreon for those in the $5 tier. It is called The Fortress.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah, because every other option...
It's better than all the shite you were throwing around before.
Exactly. And because you said you're just going to call it the library, I went out of my way not to call it the library, because I'm not letting you be right. So it's called The Fortress. I actually put the post up with the link to submit for our $5 patrons before we started recording this, so it's already there. You can go check it and submit stuff.
It's worth noting for our patrons, we put up our monthly episode this week.
We did, yeah. Green Lantern Earth 1, Volume 1. Yeah. We talked about that.
Real, fresh and topical. And next month you get to vote on what we're going to do.
We do. So, we've not picked what those 4 options are yet, but it will be up by next week's episode, absolutely. And you'll have a couple of weeks to vote, and then we'll do it before the end of May. So that is the plan for obviously check out patreon.com/MaileFuzzTV for all that stuff. Pretty much all that stuff is in the $5 tier. But if you want to just support us a little bit more than what you would if you're watching ads on YouTube, you can give us $1 a month just to feel warm and fuzzy inside. But otherwise, just support us by liking and subscribing and commenting and letting us know what you think, and maybe sharing us on the Twitters and other things, all sorts of things you can do to help out the show. But that is so, you know, tell us what you thought of the books this week into comments, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Matt will be back. We've got No Justice, or we've got DC Nation rather, and then No Justice after that. Yeah. We've got all these things happening, big stuff. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading comics, and always remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.